All right, it's a Wednesday night, and we are in week number 11 in the I-10 corridor, and I can't think of anything else better to do than to talk about some high school football. I've gotten enough of the college football ranks. We had a sports equinox on Monday, as they call it. There was a hockey game on TV, a football game on TV, a basketball game on TV, and a baseball game on TV. I think we hit the trifecta for pretty much for all sports leagues. Uh, I'm in a little bit of a hangover because of Major League Baseball. I think the Dodgers and the Blue Jays are putting on an absolute show. Coach, you look like you still tuned in to the Celtics and Cavs right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Not sure if you really dialed in.
I'm catching up with the new thing. The football season's coming to the end. Basketball is about to start, and I'm a Celtic fan, so I'm checking out everything. If they coming on television, I'm checking them out.
As for the college ranks, man, I don't know, man. If any of those jobs come open, I will gladly coach a D1 team for a buyout of at least a couple of million. I don't need the whole 50. It doesn't matter. I think I'm worth at least 4 or 5 wins. I can motivate people. I don't know if I'm good behind the schemes, but I think I could get at least 4 or 5 out of that. If I make a bowl game, I'll put it in my clause, but other than that, hey, I'm all about high school football right now. It is I would probably say it is the precipice of the playoffs. We are going into week number 11. If you hadn't done the work, you got one more week to figure it out for those teams. I think we got 5 or 6 that are really right there on the edge. We got some teams that are fighting for the playoff lives, and we got some other ones that are on the outside looking in with some work left to do. So week 11 is definitely going to be critical. Guys, we have really a lot to go through tonight. A lot of this is just going to be like speculation because the numbers still need to be ran. But as of today, we have some scenarios on if the season was over and the playoffs started right now, here's what it would look like for your first round matchups. We're definitely going to break down week number 10. Lots of surprises in week number 10, and we definitely got some great matchups on deck for week number 11. So, without any further ado, this is the Extra Point Podcast. I'm Mark Adams. This is Andrew Juke, Coach Cofield, and Eddie Quinkers Jr. The whole gang is in the house, and we're ready to break down North Florida high school football. For a lot of people, if you really haven't been paying attention, the teams that you think are in, they might not be in, and the teams that you think are like, hey, maybe they're gonna be turning in pads. Not so fast. They got some spots locked up and that are safe and secure. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm not gonna waste any time because we got a packed show. We appreciate those who've been rocking with us all season long. We still got some more high school football to get into. Um, a lot of what I have seen so far is that as the rankings have come out, there are just some things that are just undecided, and I think week 11 is going to really, really kind of button some things up for. And I hope to say, it's safe to say that there are some teams that just like, how in the world are they in, and then some other teams, how in the world are they out? So hopefully we'll answer some questions, but let's go ahead and jump into it. Um, a lot of what a lot of what we have on deck is just really a whole hodgepodge of what I would like to call the SEC of the state playoffs, which is the rural classification. It's a beautiful mess, is what I like to call it. I couldn't think of a better way to be able to have us going into week number 11 is just with some teams that are really right there on the edge, knocking on the door. It's definitely going to be a good week for some action-packed high school football. Uh, a lot of the games that we have on deck really are. I think we got a couple of Thursday games as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
somebody want to get their stuff done early.
Yeah, one is also a playoff game for one of the local schools in the Big Bend region, but that's for a different athletic association. So hopefully, yeah. So for a few teams in the area, playoffs are starting a little bit sooner than usual.
Yeah, we got Franklin County. They're going to be active in the is it the SSAA? Is that correct? Yeah. Okay.
SSAA, the Sunshine State Athletic Association, they're going to be in the Atlantic Division state playoffs, while Asilla Christian is in the main championship bracket over in the 4A state championship over there of the SSAA.
Now, Eddie, we'll give you a moment. You seem to have done a deep dive on this. We'll give you some time later on to kind of explain to the people. There's a good chance your team is going to be playing in the postseason, y'all. Let's go ahead and take some of the guesswork out of it. There's a good chance that your team, yes, they will be playing postseason ball somewhere. We do not know in what particular classification, but there's a really good chance we're going to have upwards of 30 teams playing postseason ball, either in the Invitational, the SSAA tournament, or the FSHAA tournament, which is otherwise known as the state playoff. So, let's go ahead and get it pulled up. Week number 10 scores from around the area, and man, there were some doozies, a lot of surprises mixed into the bunch. Let's go ahead and start it off. I would like to say. This one just put a smile on my face.
Yes.
As a Cougar alum, you know, going into this game, I just was really wondering which version of which team was going to show up, and I think some questions got answered. On the Godby side, I think they probably did themselves a huge favor in terms of their playoff hopes, being able to grab a monster win over Lincoln. 30-28, and for the most part, you know, Trojans kind of shot themselves in the foot. We'll go over how it looks, but right now Lincoln is number 9 in the class of is it 5? It's 5A Region 1. They're the team that's actually on the outside right now. We'll go over that a little bit later, but
man, they won the district. They didn't win the district.
They did win the district, but I think what's really on the line is whether or not Lincoln can host or not.
Oh, okay. Because I was trying to say, man, what's the point of having a district if you're not in it? But that was that game. I got to watch it. It was. I have to give Coach Austin the credit. He started his quarterback. Give me his name. Leaves me. He was unbelievable. He was the difference in the whole game. If they gave out an MVP trophy, he got it. Because without him, I don't think they got a chance of winning that game. I think he rushed for over 100 yards. He threw three touchdown passes. I mean, he was all over the place. And then the last play where he threw for the touchdown, where he threw it was 16 seconds on the clock. He was cool and under center. He did everything he needed to do, and he threw the ball, hit the man with 16 seconds to go, and made just a great play. Lincoln, I think they were stunned by what went on. I don't think they wasn't expecting that, because Coach Austin did some different things. He spread it Lincoln out.
That's a great interception right there.
He did a lot of things different. I don't think Lincoln was ready for it, and he took them, and they end up making plays. I mean, he did some different formations. They wasn't expecting it. They wasn't expecting what he did. He did a great job. He gets a trophy for that victory because he did his formation changes, quarterback changes. It was unbelievable. I was excited watching the football game. And I'm like, it would be a shame for them to lose it. They were behind with 3 minutes to go in the game, and they drove pretty much the length of the field and scored that touchdown. It was on television. I know they were happy, exciting, because you're not going to leave a game like that. Best game I saw Godby play all year.
Yeah, you really have the thing I like about this kind of game is that the atmosphere. You can kind of throw the records out. You're going to get a show in this game. We've seen Hail Marys. We've seen tip passes. We've seen blocked kicks. We've seen punt returns that were blocked, returned for touchdowns, all in the fourth quarter, deciding the games. It's just one of those where, you're going to get some fireworks. It's a crosstown rivalry, and everything that you would expect to go into it Lincoln really had, like Coach, like you were talking about, Lincoln had control at one point going late into the fourth. It looked like they needed a couple of stops just to really end the ball game and walk away with the victory. One of the things I like to call is just Trojan magic. Somehow Lincoln, when they do have the ball late in the game, they seem to kind of get the tide turned in their favor. There have been so many matchups in this series where Lincoln has just found a way to win. In this particular, Lincoln didn't have the ball. It was Gabi that had the ball, and they were the ones coming up with big plays. This is just another classic, epic in this rivalry, and Gabi ended up coming up on top 30-28.
And this must be the game winner right here on the final.
Yeah, fade pass to the corner.
Oh, that's not it. That's not the point. It was just dropped. It was that.
Oh, 8 seconds. Wow. This would have given me a heart attack.
we gotta take a napkin or something and clear off the Oculus, the Peloton cam.
Look how cool he was. He just
wow.
He didn't. He was just cool. He didn't care. I love that about a quarterback.
And you start to see that kind of coming up with Lazarus getting some more reps here back at Godby for the last, a couple, 2-3 weeks. You could see it kind of cresting, and they turned him loose. And it reminded me of, man, I want to say 8 to 10 years ago down at the Gene. I remember Marcus Riley kind of in a similar situation, kind of stepped into the fold, had an absolute enormous game. I think he put up 7 touchdowns for Rickards that day to give him a big victory. I see a lot of similarities. This was late in the game, playoff atmosphere. But to your point, Mark, like you said, Lincoln had it going on early. They had the takeaway. They drove down, got the big touchdown, and then they were kind of controlling the line. They were able to give Jacobs protection when Godby was only rushing 4. And then things kind of got back and forth, turned into a little bit of a heavyweight fight. But, yeah, Lazarus went absolutely bananas. Of course, over 200 on the ground, over 200 passing. I mean, it was just a wrecking crew out there, and he let his guys do some work. He obviously had Simmons on that big conversion, but you saw kind of early in that tape, you saw the rush on 3rd down. Just pick up 5 yards, get out of bounds, keep the chains alive. You saw that other pass play. It was 3rd and 15. You saw that 4th down conversion, moving the chains to set you up for those kind of hero plays. Yeah, he did it all. Got some help. Simmons obviously balled out. But how about the crafty senior wide receiver, Jarrell Hall, who I think got the game winner?
He did.
I'll have to double check that.
He did.
2 catches, both touchdowns, including that one right before halftime, which was huge to go into the break with the advantage, and then the one to seal the deal. So shout out, don't sleep on Jarrell Hall. But, yeah, that was a wild game, playoff atmosphere, everything you want to see. And I don't want to say a resurrection of sorts, but Lazarus Chambers, depending on if you want to say it incorrectly.
I got the reference.
Kind of back from the dead there, gang.
Yeah, and again, I've said this before many a times throughout the season for other schools. Like this here, once again, is a signature win, big one for Godby. It is an eye opener moving forward. Respectfully speaking, anytime you get a win against Lincoln, it is a huge eye opener in the city. All eyes and attention now kind of turn a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. So it's like this is big for Godby moving forward. And yeah, this is definitely something you want going into this week's matchup to where it can help even your record at 5-5. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we will mention it. Playoff chances are still at hopes.
And credit to Lincoln, and sorry not to jump in on you, Mark, but the run game, something we talked about. It's like, hey, we want to see the run game was there. And I mean, that first touchdown with the little, I know coach has got a lock like that, a little pick and pull on that offensive line. Aiden Luna did a good job kind of leading the charge there. But the run game was good. So I think this is a positive sign for Lincoln as well. They take the L, but going into the playoffs, you got to like against a quality opponent, which Godby is, you got to like the signs there.
Yeah, I liked Huggins. I felt like he did a bang-up job. 146 on the ground. That's exactly what you want out of your run game. And I think for Lincoln, it just honestly, this is one of those. If you kept the clock running, they would still be going back and forth, I believe. And that just kind of shows where both teams were really at. For Lincoln, yeah, absolutely. You definitely wanted to have something positive coming out of the ground game. Once again, Trojans, again, going into the last week of the regular season, going against Rickards, you really want to be able to have that established. I think Lincoln will have enough opportunities to get some of the mistakes shored up. The critical interception was a drive killer. And then really, Gabi was kind of picking their spots, especially on the sidelines and some of the out routes that they were running, just kind of finding the edges in those gaps. I think the Lincoln defense would definitely get that, look to get that corrected, because they don't want to. This is a team that can't really afford to give up big plays going into the playoffs. And I think that's one of the things that they're going to try to focus on. For Gabi, it's just, hey, Coach Housen has just definitely been he's definitely been one of those where you want to keep the momentum going. When I talked to him earlier in the season, he's one of those guys where it's just like, hey, if we can show up the same way, this team has a chance and the opportunity to be great. A lot of Gabi's losses earlier in the season came very close. So this is one of those where you really have to take a look at some of the other elements. But what stood out to me was Lincoln's ground game. And of course, Lazarus Chambers played absolutely lights out. Like you were saying, Jude, 102, 100 and something odd yards through the air and then 200 on the ground. He was just kind of giving Lincoln some of their own medicine. You got to wonder if, Lincoln, for those guys, they go up against Jacobs in practice all the time, and then they got a good dose of a dual threat quarterback. And that's kind of where, you both teams, this is kind of a chess match right now where you want to shore up certain things in your game before you move on to the playoffs. And I think, there's some positives to take away from both sides, but this was just another classic. If you were a fan, this one was for you. So Lincoln falls to 5-4. Cougars improved to 4-5 going into week number 11. Gabi takes it over the Trojans in an instant classic, 30-28. This one we also need to talk about. This one went into overtime. War Eagles down Baker for the outright district title, 13-7 over the Wildcats. And for Wakulla, man, what a tale of two halves of the season. We really had some question marks at the beginning. I would probably say around week 4 or 5. We didn't know what Wakulla was going to turn into, and then all of a sudden, the War Eagles showed up in a big way. Looking at the schedule, I think they ripped off like 4 or 5 straight in the middle of the season to really establish themselves. Had a huge win in the middle of the year over Gabi to be able to kind of establish themselves as the front runner in the district, and then they were able to close things out in this one. But man, they had to earn it that night against a very tough Baker County team that did not want to go away quietly.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. Wakulla, year in, year out, doing the same thing, making the playoffs. Great job. Coaching staff that's been together for quite a while. I'm not surprised. You go in there, and it's a tough place when you got to go there to play. And they travel well also. They play good. I was down in the game when they went to the state, and they battled. They were an underdog, but they still battled. The reputation of Wakulla is they bring their A game every time you play them. You're in a fight. You're not gonna come in and they're gonna just lay down for you. They're not giving you anything. You're gonna have to take it. And playing in a game, an overtime game like that, that's a tough thing. And to come away with a win, you only gave up. It's only 13-7. That means both teams just scored 7 points during regulations. And you get in overtime, the defense had to stop them. And then you get your 13. You ain't no need to kick in an extra point if you got to win. Awesome job, Wakulla.
Yeah, the only thing better than overtime, gang, is double overtime. Yeah. This one actually went into overtime 0-0. This was a wild defensive game. We had a couple missed field goals right before halftime, and then we have a turnover inside the 10 off a fake field goal, couple turnovers, good defense in the middle of the park, and then you got your big bruiser to bring you home. Of course, Jordan Barnes, 3 carries, 2 touchdowns on the night. Of course, overall for the season, he's got 17 carries and 6 touchdowns. So when you needed to score short yardage, it's tough. Hey, but this is what we've seen from the district all year long, it seems. Last year, we had all the offensive showcases and we're wild, but these games are always close. We've seen it the last 2 years. Baker, Suwannee, Wakulla, Godby, maybe the most even top-to-bottom district in the state, most entertaining one. And they gave us another showcase. This time it was on defense, and this was just one of those nasty, gritty games. Credit to Wakulla, to y'all's point, Mark. You know, they did get hot. People said the sky was falling when they were 1-2, coming off consecutive losses to Taylor and Childs, but they got right, and they ran through the district, and deservedly so. When you run through the district, you're going to make the playoffs, regardless of what anybody else says.
Consistency is key, as Coach Cleese once told me in an interview. And yeah, listening to this game, it was like insane, and just like how scoreless it was, the way it went for the War Eagles. Now, although yes, it was questionable at the beginning of the season, it wasn't like, you know, it was that bad for the War Eagles. Their games were close, respectfully speaking, and you know, they found rhythm at the midpoint of the season to turn things around. And I mean, gentlemen, to go back-to-back games, like double overtime in this one for the win of the district title, and then last week coming up short in a shootout in double overtime. I tell you, man, the journey for Wakulla has been battles after battles after battles. And I think we're going to be in store for yet another one this upcoming Friday night when they take the road over to Quincy.
Yeah, this one was, I think the shocking thing was just the no score until the end of regulation. It was a huge defensive battle. Baker they just weren't going to go away quietly. And I think for Wakulla, a lot of what happens and when you get in, there's no guarantees. You know, there's so much on the other line, on the line. And I think for Baker County, it was almost like wounded animal mode for a little bit, because, you know, if you come away with a win, it just kind of throws the district into a little bit of chaos there. And that's really all that they were trying to do, is see if they could kind of get out of Dodge with a win. And for Wakulla, it just was about, man, if we can walk off of the field with the dub, we walk away as district champions. Everything that we have fought for, it puts us in the driver's seat. And I think that just kind of gives you the perfect mixture for overtime games such as this one. But looking at some of the stat lines, of course, Owen Cleese, but man, the running game, only 86 yards for Wakulla, which is kind of telling as to how well the Baker County Wildcats defense played. A lot of what they've been able to do just really made Owen Cleese very uncomfortable for a little bit. Had the crucial interception for a little bit, but yeah, the numbers were, you know, not what we would consider to be, you know, Wakulla-esque, but a lot of it had to do with just the fact that, you know, there was just so much where, you know, you get a couple of plays going here and there, especially in the overtime period, where you can kind of shift the momentum, and that's really what it comes down to. And that's one of the things about being down in Crawfordville. You're playing in a place that just it has its own kind of 12th man kind of atmosphere. But Wakulla able to come away with a huge victory that really, like I said, puts them in the driver's seat right now for the playoffs, as far as being able to host, and then also getting some I would say a little bit of a cushion there, because you have the opportunity there. If you get out of the first round, you can definitely see yourself hosting again in the second round. These are the kind of things that you're kind of playing for at this point. So Wakulla, a big winner, your district champion, 13-7 win over Baker County. This one just had some implications simply because Holmes County is, like I said, aside from this loss, there were still the first 3 losses coming into the season, really less than a touchdown, and they are still on the outside looking in terms of how the region shapes up. We felt like they were going to give Bluntstown the biggest test, and so far, points-wise, they really have. Being able to get 20 on the Tigers was definitely I would say probably there was no other team I saw out there in the rural classification that could run with Bluntstown. And Holmes County gave it all they had, and they were still a 48-20 loss. But Bluntstown, man, incredible job by Coach Wagner since taking over the program. He has Bluntstown as the #1 team in the region in Class 1A, sitting at the top with nobody else around them. And this is kind of a Bluntstown and maybe a couple of miles to the other team. They're sitting at 9-0, undefeated. And man, it's really hard not to imagine Bluntstown in the villages come December competing for a state title.
Mark, I watched part of this game. Holmes County was tough at the beginning of this game. Bluntstown pulled away in the second half. This was a battle. I was surprised how close it was at the beginning and how well Holmes County played. They didn't go in there and lay down. They gave it all they had, but Bluntstown just got a little bit too much.
Whoa, I was on mute. My bad. And there's a looming kind of plot line here. Not to throw this a little too far forward, but to your point, Mark, Holmes kind of on the brink here as they now drop back about 1.5 points from that escape line. We may get robbed in a sense because you look at that 8-9 seed and you see Madison County. So Bluntstown, Madison County, which I think from a position that we're sitting in, gentlemen, could be a potential state championship. We may get robbed, and that may be a second round game due to the metrics. They've been sitting in that 8 or 9, and that looks like a pretty kind of comfortable section for them right here.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it.
Wow.
Especially when we get to the playoffs. But yeah, Coach, you talk about Bluntstown and just them just wearing teams down. If you watch the offensive line, this is a sizable unit. Don't kind of pay attention to kind of what you see on screen. This unit is they've got some meat on the table. And a lot of what they've been able to do is just kind of dominate. They're just very ferocious on defense. There you can see special teams getting in on the action, scoring the special teams punt, block, touchdown. But just watch the team speed. This is one of the fastest teams you're going to see. They're getting to the quarterback, creating just really some uncomfortable scenarios. But this is one of the fastest defenses I've seen.
Mark, you know what it's called? Talent. When you got talent, it looked different. These guys are very talented, and we probably gonna see a lot of these guys playing on Saturday. I'm impressed when I watched just that last run. This guy looked like everybody was walking, and he was going full speed. And I'm like, man, you can't teach it. It's talent. And Coach Wagner's done a great job. This will be Madison versus Bluntstown. Man, I pay to go see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I pay to go see that.
Definitely. Yeah. If it's a home game for Bluntstown, you best believe it would be something. And I think this team is, arguably, like you said, Mark, this defense is quite, strong, powerful, knows how to contain every single opportunity that an offense tries to get, but they shut it down real quickly. So, a possibility of Madison County and Bluntstown would be something. But again, this is the final week we're coming on, so we'll see what happens as we get closer to playoff selection time.
Well, I'm gonna stir something up real quick.
Oh no!
I know some people from Madison, and they said the quality of teams they played doesn't match is way above what anybody else that's ranked ahead of them. They play in 7As and 5As. Most teams, the other teams with these great records, are playing against some teams in there at 1A and 2A and stuff, and they said it ain't fair. He said, but they'll get their opportunity when they meet on the gridiron. So I got that. I want to put that out there.
I'm just impressed with the Bluntstown offensive line. Like, watch this unit just create space here. And Coach, like you said, when you got talent like that, it makes it real easy for a running back.
Man, when you got a great running back, linemen get excited by knocking people out the way. They get excited. They want to look. They want to look good too. They know when he running up and down the field, they look good. Cause you watched the game, you saw the running back running, and what did you talk about? The offensive line blowing people out. So they doing a great job. I like to watch. I love to watch that.
When you got a bunch of big guys with bulldozers, and you got 3 Division I guys in your backfield, that typically leads to some pretty good results.
Interesting factoid. Time of possession for Bluntstown was only 16 minutes.
Well, you only need one play to score.
Maybe
One
to
2 plays. That's all it takes.
Seconds. So, it's nice to speculate, but man, just hats off to Coach Wagner. 9-0 is 9-0, and when you can get it done in a regular season like that, that means you're doing something right. So, Bluntstown will be seeing them in the playoffs, and we'll have to check and see, is there a first round bye for the Rural?
No.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get everything kicked off and started. It looks like round 1 is on the 14th. Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting time in North Florida. But for right now, Bluntstown undefeated at 9-0 heading into the playoffs. They are off, so they get a 2-week break, as they are off for week number 11 with a 48-20 victory over Holmes County. Keeping it rolling, Port St. Joe falls to Baker 15-24. And this one was actually a lot closer than what people realize. And a lot of this had, this has playoff implications because Port St. Joe is one of those teams that's right there on the fringe. I think they're number 17 or probably somewhere 17, right there on the outside looking in. And this was a must-have, and they weren't able to quite get it done against Baker. Baker needed this one too, in my opinion, because it kind of they were looking at finishing the season undefeated. So Baker finishes with an unblemished 10-0. Now I will go ahead and sprinkle some in, not to put no salt on Baker and what they've done, because 10-0 is 10-0, but the quality of opponents not quite on the same level, but still Baker undefeated out in the Panhandle. And for Port St. Joe, this was one of those where I know that I know that the Tiger Sharks would love to have this one back.
Mark, we talk about these teams. You talk about the quality opponent. I didn't say that. I want to first of all, I did not say that. I said my friends from Madison, and he know who he is, and the other guy knows who he is, and that's how. And they got a right to feel that way. They won the state championship so many times. They got a little arrogance, and they kind of didn't like the way they were. They had a losing record. They didn't like it, and so when they hear about people talking about how great Bluntstown is and how great this team is, they got a problem with it. Back to Baker. Baker's been in the state playoff several times. I mean, they always are in the hunt, and then they used to winning. Port St. Joe, they trying to get back up there, and it was a tough matchup for them. Playing against a team, when a team is used to winning, it's hard to beat them. You got to knock them out. You got to knock them out because they believe they can win every game. 10-0, 9-0 is 9-0. You got to beat me no matter what my record is. When I'm undefeated, I don't expect to lose. And I think that was going to be a hard task for Port St. Joe to come and beat Baker. That would have been a very difficult thing to do.
Even though the Tiger Sharks were at home, it's just they were shut out in the second and third quarters, and that really kind of did them in. The first quarter was actually I think it was 7-8 or something like that, or 7-7. I have to go back and look at it. No, 7-3. So Sharks had the lead going into the second quarter. Baker puts up 2 quick touchdowns. It's 7. Now it's 17-7 going into the half, and then Tiger Sharks just came out kind of flat in the third quarter, weren't able to get anything going until late. They crawled back in it with a touchdown and 2-point conversion. Now it's like, okay, now it's 15-17, and then Baker shuts it out. with another score to just kind of walk away with this one. But yeah, Tiger Sharks. Yeah, we'll get into the playoff implications a little bit later on in the show. So just hang on. We're gonna talk about the team, I promise. But Baker walks away with this one, 24-15. 10-0 on the year for the Gators. Another one where we had a district champion crown. Bozeman takes the district title outright with a 35-12 win over North Bay Haven. And there were some interesting things going on in this scenario a week prior, because we were looking at the critical matchup between them and Rutherford, and Bozeman was able to take that one. Now Bozeman is your district champion, and there's some things. I don't want to give it all away. We'll tease a little bit, but there's some interesting things going on. Interesting things going on in this region as well. But Bozeman is your district champion, sitting at 6-3 with a 35-12 win over North Bay Haven.
Mark, we have to give credit to Coach Pettis. He just his first year there at Bozeman. He left from Arnold. Everybody in Tallahassee know him as Coach at Childs. He did a great job with this group coming in, and we talked to him this summer at Media Day. Didn't have any idea. I didn't have any idea they were going to be this good this year, but you have to give him his props. They had a great season, 6-3, could be possibly 7-3. Congratulations to Bozeman making the playoffs once again, and we'll see. Well, I think they're in 2A, if I'm not mistaken. They're a 2A program, so this should be pretty interesting. North Bay Haven, I have to give Coach over there some props because he came in late. Also, he was the 4th or 5th coach in a row, and to be able to just win some games is pretty good. So congratulations to both coaches on, I think, a more successful seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with Pettis and everybody going on at Bozeman, small team, but a lot of heart, a lot of physicality, and that's been a point of emphasis. And then Hayden Gay has really kind of emerged last kind of bottom half of the season, and he's been rolling a couple touchdown tosses. He's been very consistent and taking care of business the way he needs to do so, getting some big plays in there, enough to clinch the district. And like we said, win your district, you earn a spot in the playoffs. Keep on rolling.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I mean, from what we're seeing, both of these teams have a good competitive edge themselves. Like that pass that is all the way for a good
little
yards.
Trickeration there.
Yeah, really nice trickeration. But overall, yeah, congratulations to Bozeman. Going like now at 6-3, having a chance at 7 wins this week. And if I believe 1A, yeah, Bozeman I think is 1A.
So I think 2A.
2A. Oh, yes, that's right. 2A. So I would like to see what this team is going to do going into the playoffs. Who knows? We could have a potential Florida High Bozeman matchup, maybe. You never know.
Ask Drew.
Ask Drew.
Drew, you didn't know you was going to be signed up for this job, did you?
Hey, man, we want to know some numbers and facts. We asked Drew.
A lot of what I will say is that it is very it is impressive to see the revitalization of North Bay Haven football. This was a team that I think barely managed to get through 5 or 6 games last season. Had a coach depart in the middle of the season. Had a coach depart prior to the season starting. So this has been an embattled program as of late, but really just in the Panama City area, I think over the past 3 weeks, every team had a shot. There was a window for all of these teams to get into the playoff, all 6, between North Bay Haven, Bozeman, and then, of course, the Big Four. A lot of it, just comes down to just, certain scenarios, but I think that's very impressive. It's very difficult to say when you get into an area that was just absolutely ravaged by the hurricanes. We talked about this a couple of years ago where Panama City was weird for a minute because it was a ghost town. It just, you don't see a scenario like that happening where you see quite a few programs that just weren't able to kind of rebound like that. And now I can confidently say that, you know, we look at Big Bend football all the time. We look at football in the Panhandle, but Bay County football is back in a big way. So a lot of these programs on an uptick. So in another scenario, there's still plenty of postseason football to be played. So stick around. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But Bozeman, a big winner over North Bay Haven. Bucks now sitting at 6-3 with a 35-12 victory over the Buccaneers. Bucks versus Bucks. All right, Coach. Let's talk about Rick High getting back into the win column. A big dub for the Raiders, 30-13 over Arnold, and Raiders now at 3-6 and with a very comfortable spot in the middle of the region. Raiders will be playing postseason ball in the playoffs. Anything can happen, but man, it starts here with being able to get some momentum going into a very crucial matchup against the Lincoln Trojans in week number 11. But week number 10, it was all about Rickers. They got a big win at home against Arnold. A lot of what I saw was just Raiders playing Raider football.
Man, congratulations once again to Coach Quentin Lewis. Once again, putting the Raiders into the playoffs. Not a great season as far as the records go, but hey, the result is a result. And I like the idea they came out and they beat up on the Arnold football team. They've been struggling with the Panama City schools, so looked like we had an opportunity to see them play. Had a great game against Arnold on the blue field. I don't
Nice.
know what's the name of what they call it?
Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea.
When I was in school, it was just dead. It was a field. They got the nice turf. Man, I'm kind of jealous. You know, these guys got this pretty turf to play on. I mean, got a nice field. That same field used to be our practice field. We didn't even have our own stadium back then. But hey, I'm not gonna get off of that. Congratulations once again. Look like we had a great season. We're making the playoffs. That's a great season in my opinion.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I think it was tied going right after halftime, somewhere in the third quarter, and then Raiders just pull away. You can see the big touchdown run there by Rickards, and of course, Carly's Price. We see the big 38-yard run here to kind of seal the deal for Rickards. Arnold's been in battle this season. This is a younger team. They had a great season in Coach Griffith's first year. And, for Rickards, I think it was more of a, getting back to basics, especially it always is nice to kind of get the dub in front of your own home crowd right there on campus. But this was just one of those where I think Rickards needed this one to kind of build some momentum going into the last game of the regular season. Like I said, they got a huge matchup coming up against Lincoln to close out the regular season. And I feel like this is kind of what the doctor ordered at the right time.
Yeah, and to add on to that, Coach Cofield, I want to say, man, back in your day, let's just say you guys paved the way for the Dead Sea to come to life on that campus. And games like this, I like it when a school in our Tallahassee region plays like in a true home game on campus, on your school grounds. There's no better feeling like it, and I like that Rickards did it and winning big 2 over in the Dead Sea. I like that nickname. All you need to do now is put yourselves a pirate ship in that hillside, and you'll have a good stadium setup.
There you go. That's the next one, right? That's the next move.
Yeah, I hate that hill. To tell you about it.
Coach Hankerson can raise the money though. He don't give Coach Hankerson an idea. He'll figure out a way.
I'm all for ideas.
I think
him a minute, but I think he can raise the money.
Yeah, that's what you need. I hope Carly's Price got his lineman maybe an extra lunch or two during the week. 191 4 touchdowns for Carly's Price. The line made him look good, taking care of business. And that, to your point, gentlemen, is probably enough. Probably enough for Rick to get in. You get in, You never know what can happen. Season
Everybody
number 2.
0-0.
I mean, the victory definitely helps in the points. You know, you want to stay in that middle of the pack. You get a favorable first round matchup with the team that actually is more your speed. It creates some things. So, yeah, for the Raiders, it really puts them in a. I would argue they probably have the best of given their record. They probably have the best draw of anybody going into the playoffs right now. So. Congrats to the Raiders. They throw up a dub in the win column, 3-6 on the year, but don't pay attention to the record. Going into the playoffs is all that matters right now. Second season is secure for the gang on Jim Lee Road, and really everything comes down to can you improve your odds by perhaps stealing one against Lincoln. I know that everybody on the Raider staff is planning crucially for that game. Both sides that you can throw the records out of that one as well because that's just another rivalry game. Sometimes Rickers God be Rickers, Rickers Lincoln, God be Lincoln, God be Rickers. Those games just you're gonna get the city to turn out for those, and it's just gonna be a different atmosphere. But for Rickers, this is how you want to close out the week number 10 slate with the big win, 30-13 over Arnold. South Walton Falls, the Pensacola Catholic. The Crusaders are the district champion. And, for South Walton, man, this is a great turnaround from, I think, a 2-8 season a year ago or 3-7 season a year ago, where they were literally nomads, did not have a home stadium. They were just traveling, using up all the Clorox bleach on the white uniforms. This year, a complete different story. Coach Tisa has done an exceptional job. I think they've been able to get several things kind of established, especially in the passing game, which is just lights out. Was not clicking against Pensacola Catholic. Pensacola Catholic is a different team at home. They seem to really kind of put like little sprinkle some booby doo on some teams when they get them at home. Godby fell after holding the lead. A couple of other teams they've been able to kind of steal some wins from at home, and Pensacola Catholic is your district champion. We'll go over some playoff scenarios here in just a moment, but South Walton falls to 6-3, falling to the Crusaders 24-13.
Coach Tisa did a great job this year after having that season 2-8 last year. But playing at home, I think they had like eight home games. That is one heck of an advantage. And I guess because they played on the road so much, all the games, everybody owed them a home game. They did a great job. Got a chance to watch them here in Tallahassee. Got to watch them on a couple of events on the high school network. They're an exciting football team. They can chunk those deuces. They can throw the ball all over the field. And I think a lot of people get excited when they watch that. I get more excited about a great running game. But as far as throwing the football, there's no problem with South Walton. And I think I talked to some of my friends. They won the county. They're the county champs of Walton County. So, hey, congratulations. They beat Freeport and they beat Walton. So, hey, county champs, congratulations.
There you go. And actually, they played Catholic tough because outside of Catholic's loss to Pace, Catholic had a lot of runaways. They didn't keep it close with many teams at all. So credit to South Walton fighting back and hanging tough with Catholic. They really gave themselves a chance. So it looks like South Walton is going to be comfortably in either way. Granted, you would have liked to lock up the district, which would have put you in a home game situation. And I think Zach pointed it out exactly right here. So you're the 3 seed right now as South Walton. But of course, you would be potentially, if playoffs started today, hosting a 6 seed, which was a district champ. So that's when we get into the qualifiers and the bylaws of having to go on the road, despite you being a 3 seed. So it's a good shout out there from Zach in the chat here. But yeah, credit to South Walton. I think they're a real deal. And to y'all's point, Coach Chisa's got it going on. They're going to be tough out in the playoffs, regardless of who they're playing.
Right.
Yeah, and looks like I guess the game was a little bit closer than 24-13 mark. It looked like on there, 34-26 after that scoop and fumble?
I do think that South Walton had a touchdown call back, so I'm not sure if the scoreboard was actually accurate, but for the most part, I do know that it was close in the first.
Yeah.
I think it was close in the first. I think it was tied going into halftime
Okay.
before Catholic was able to pull away. It is quickly becoming one of the tougher places to play. Certain places get a reputation. As Florida High, they've made several trips over there. Used to be a district rivalry game for them back in the day. A lot of what happens now is that with Catholic being the district champion, they kind of create some weird scenarios where a lot of those teams are going to have to make that bus ride down I-10 to go back into the House of Horrors. But they, for South Walton again, although they came up on the losing end, great turnaround from last season, sitting at 6-3, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the Seahawks end up closing out the year against Mariana on the road again. So they'll have another opportunity to kind of improve potentially to 7-3 on the year. But yeah, tough loss at Florida High. It was Choctaw, the juggernaut, sitting at Class 6A. And then really, really hard fought loss against Pensacola Catholic. This is still a team that's definitely a threat in the playoffs, still a dangerous bunch. Like I said, they have a great passing game. You saw it on display there in the highlights. They had a huge, I think, 90-yard bomb. This is a team that's fun to watch, and I'm gonna be looking forward to seeing them in the playoffs. But that, along with some other week number 10 scores, let's go ahead and run it down. Bay handles business against Rutherford 65-20. Bay will have an opportunity to close out that crucial county championship. They're already your district champions, but I do know that the Tornadoes and Coach Brown definitely want to secure the Bay County championship. It's an interesting rivalry down there. I've sent some coaches' office down there. They definitely want to win the district. They definitely want to make the playoffs, but you want to beat those guys down the street. That's the big thing. And so it's going to be a big deal for them. They go up against Bozeman to close out the year. Bozeman, not a slouch, but Bay is definitely looking for that crucial county championship. They're sitting currently at 8-1, trying to close out the year. Their lone loss coming to Madison County, but a big 65-20 win over Rutherford. Mariana falls to Taylor County 50-7, and man, Taylor County took they took their lumps against Chiefland and kept right on rolling. Bulldogs are now sitting at 8-1 with one game remaining. Cottondale, a big winner over winless Vernon. The battle of the winged insects, I guess you want to call it, but Cottondale, a big win over Vernon, 54-6. Chipley shuts out Jefferson County 35-0. NFC, a big winner. And this one, we didn't have enough time, but I wanted to talk just briefly about this one. Eagles outlast Franklin County. Franklin County gave NFC their best shot and just could not come out on the winning side of things as NFC survives the Seahawks 48-42. NFC, actually, the win aids them in the playoff rankings. We'll get into that in just a moment. Columbia blanks Clay 21-0. Columbia, also another team that's sitting at 8-1. Their lone loss coming to St. Augustine in the middle of the season. Rounding out the Week 10 slate, Florida High falls on the road. This one was a high-scoring affair. It was back and forth for a minute before Bishop Moore just took advantage of some opportunities and pulled away from the Seminoles, 56-35. For me, I just want Florida High to stay healthy. You know they're going to be in because they are the district champion, but man, their list of opponents has been a absolute who's who. Next to Madison, I think they probably had the toughest schedule. Madison, Florida High, and then Gaston County have probably played some of the toughest football we've seen so far this year. Madison, speaking of Cowboys, they were a big winner over Apopka, 43-6, and that was what the doctor ordered for the Cowboys, as they'll gladly take those points going into the playoffs. Swanee falls to Atlantic, and Bulldogs only have one win on the season as they fall 17-27 to the Stingrays. Liberty County, a big winner. And man, I have to give credit to the Bulldogs and Coach Tranquil. They've done an excellent job. Liberty County is now sitting at they've got 2 losses on the year. They're 8-2 on the year. Going into their bye to close out the year. And no, my bad, 7-2. They played a 9-game schedule. But still, Coach Tranquil done a great job putting the Bulldogs in a pretty good position going into the playoffs. They had a big 49-0 win over Hilliard. We will Hitchcock Falls to Jay 45-14. Lafayette, a big winner over Branford 53-7. And Lafayette has a big matchup coming up this Friday against Chipley. That one we definitely gonna have our eyes on. Freeport falls in a big way to Walton, and I think Freeport's got some guys banged up. We'll have to get some more. Coach, can you get some intel on that one?
I'm on top of that.
Walton hangs 68 on the Bulldogs, and really for Walton, that was a monster win that they will gladly take those points as well to boost themselves up in the rankings. FAMU DRS, and I'm just gonna say this: DRS is sitting at they're still it's a long shot, but they're on the outside looking in at number 9 in that region. So it's some iffy scenarios, but there's a very sliver chance for DRS, but they picked up their second win on the year against Harvest Community, 52-15. McClay, this one was surprising to me. Marauders fall on the road against Deerfield Windsor, and I expected this one to be a little bit more competitive, but tough road environment going across state lines. I'm always leery of going into Georgia and Alabama at the end of the year. I don't want to play a Georgia team at the end of the year, but Marauders had them on the schedule, and they fall 41-14. And then Mosley handles business against Gulf Breeze, your district champion, the Mosley Dolphins, 54-14. Really more so of a formality. But your Dolphins, Battle of the Fins, Mosley takes this one. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Mosley closes out the year against Florida High. And that's going to be a big matchup. But the Dolphins get the Seminoles at home. So we'll be talking about that one in a minute. And that does it for week number 10. Guys, let's take a breather. Let's go ahead and talk some playoff football.
Everybody.
Yo, Mark, can I get in here real quick?
Go
Quick
ahead.
shout out. DRS doesn't get enough love. DRS, the big victory against Harvest Community. They won 2 out of the last 4. We got a possibility. Big game against Houston to come up. If they get a win versus Houston, it'll be the first month with a winning record where they've played 3 or more football games since 2020. It'll also tie the most wins in the regular season since 2019. So I know they don't get a lot of love, but Coach has got it going on. Big Timothy Nelson, Daryl Hewitt, Zamar Neely Johnson doing some big things down there on the south side. So that's why I have my orange shirt on, gentlemen. 2 out of 4. I'm feeling number 3 here. Halloween. Things could get a little spooky.
I like it. I think that DRS is it's one of those things where it's just like, man, if the talent comes together, especially in the offseason, that could be a very special place. Coach, I know that place is special to your heart, but man, it is good to see in my opinion, just when everybody's good in the city, it just makes football so much better. But let's go ahead and jump into some playoff scenarios right now. These are the rankings right now. Now, if this is 2A, and I will go ahead and pull up 1A in just a second. Kind of going out of order, but 2A in right now, region number 1, it goes Bowles, Pensacola Catholic, South Walton, and Baldwin are your top 4 teams. At number 5, Florida High, Bozeman, Freeport, and then Walton. On the outside looking in, We've got Andrew Jackson, and then sitting on the and then sitting at number, I believe, number 10, in the number 10 spot is the Gadsden County Jaguars. They are playoff ineligible for this season due to the infractions that happened in the offseason. An unfortunate situation, but your top 8 once again: Bowles, Pensacola Catholic, South Walton, Baldwin, Florida High, Bozeman, and Freeport. And, really a lot of it, and Walton at number 8. Potential matchups, for Florida High, I do think that a lot of it, just kind of comes with the territory. You played a tough schedule. You still got most of your guys healthy. You've avoided kind of being banged up. But that could be, the potential for the Seminoles to kind of go on a run because you draw a somewhat favorable matchup going into the first round. South Walton, kind of similar scenario where they're looking at a potential matchup against Bozeman. Freeport is I would say a whole 2 points behind Bozeman right now. And then for Walton, it kind of falls off a cliff there. But again, you're in. So if it ended today, we would see a Walton Bowles first round matchup. Florida High versus Baldwin sitting in that 4 and 5 spot. South Walton versus Bozeman potentially. Zach, thank you for chiming in. Zach was paying attention. He understood the assignment. And then Freeport potentially taking on Pensacola Catholic. And I believe that would be, and if I look at the Bulldogs schedule, I think that would be a district rematch where they fell earlier in the season 58-17. So the scenarios here, kind of all, I don't want to say all over the place, but this is one of the classes that looks a little bit more set than some of the other ones.
Yeah, this will be a good kind of set here. And this is going to be a clean region. So we have nobody that's outside of the limits right now. All the district champs, of course, have been decided, but they're all within kind of that top cluster. So Bowles, Pensacola Catholic, Florida High, Bozeman being your district champs here in this region. So we won't have any like weird bid steals or anything like this unless things get really wild. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen, to your point, Mark. But Florida High is sitting pretty right now. If they go up to 4th, they have a home game. If they stay at 5th, they have a home game. If they drop to 6th, they have a home game based on kind of the current standing. So if you like Florida High, despite kind of the up and down, you're hosted in the first round, you're a district champ, and then you kind of go forward with there and get things rolling. So I think Florida High is in a really good situation, even with kind of the ups and the downs and the ebbs and the flows, and maybe kind of a sleeping giant in that 5 slot right now.
Definitely. One of the things I do like about it is that, and I like the term a clean region, but one of the things I like about it is that you don't get any weird oddities in terms of matchups as far as like travel concerns. You're not seeing anybody going way across the state to play an opening round. Now, it could get kind of dicey as you get into third round and beyond for your regional finals, but a lot of what I would like to see, and this kind of came up as a whisper, is reseeding after the regional final. So that could be on the docket sometime next year. But for right now, this class, for Class 2A and Region 1, this looks pretty solid. Definitely like the certain matchups here. Baldwin kind of snuck up on some people with and I don't want to say favorable schedule, but the Indians really, in my opinion, they kind of went about their business very quietly, playing in District 4, and that, a lot of times you don't get a chance to kind of keep an eye on that. But I think that's a 3-team district, if I'm not mistaken. Could be 4. I think it's a 3-team.
I think they're 4. They've got Bowles, Jackson, and there's one other team out there. I think they're 4.
But yeah, the Indians, their schedule looked kind of all over the place. For Baldwin, they played Perry, Northside, North Creek. It's been kind of I don't know that they got out of the 3 or 4 county radius that they're in. So they could be a little bit of an enigma. But most of these other teams we're pretty familiar with. Tough draw for Walton getting bowls in the first round, but at least you're in. Pensacola Catholic and Freeport, you got to wonder if Freeport can maybe get some of those guys back. But yeah, Coach, we'll get some intel to see what that looks like. But that is your 2A Region 1 playoff scenario if the season ended today. Now, Week 11 is going to be very telling because Florida High has a big matchup against Mosley. South Walton, I believe, closes things out against Mariana. And then looking at Freeport, I think they've got a big matchup against NFC. So there could be some movement, but as for right now, I don't think you'll have too much because there's still, I think, the closest point differentials between Baldwin and Florida High. So Seminole's still sitting in a really good spot there. A big win, if they could maybe perhaps upset the Dolphins like they did last year, that would bump them up in a huge way. But there's still a 2-point gap between them and South Walton. So really they'd be fighting for that 4 and 5 spot. So that is 2A Region 1. All right, now let's drop down to 1A. And this one, for me, I have some questions on how the ranking system actually works. Looking at university schedule and looking at McClay's schedule, it's kind of a little bit of a toss-up there, but University is your number 1 team in the region. McClay, a full point behind University Christian, sitting at number 2. Trinity Christian really came on as of late. They had a huge win over Lincoln at home a couple of weeks ago, and that really bolstered their playoff positioning there. But they are a couple of points behind McClay, sitting in the number 3 spot. Number 4 is Impact Christian, 5 Episcopal, 6 Trinity Catholic, 7 North Florida Christian, and then number 8 Providence Christian. At number 10, your DRS Baby Rattlers. But it really falls off a cliff as DRS is minus 10 behind the next team above them. So it again, some shakeups could occur, but I don't see the movement there. But for NFC, their matchup against Freeport actually could have some real implications there because they are a 0.02 of a point behind Trinity Catholic, who's sitting at number 6, should they get the dub. But if they don't, that could put them into a little bit of a gray area because Providence also has a big game coming up. And so you definitely, if you're NFC, I would consider this a must win.
Well, Mark, I think NFC ought to be real happy with their position because when they started the season off, you're talking about a brand new coach. Some of the old NFC is not the new NFC. They used to have all these college prospects, but they fought their way through a pretty good season. And Coach McCovey, I mean, I think he should be congratulated on what he did because I saw him in the spring practice this spring, and from what I saw to this season was some great improvement. Did a good job with that with the group he had.
Yeah, this is once again one of those clean districts. But yeah, to your point, Coach, I think if NFC had their dream, or a lot of teams kind of had their dream, they would lock this in right now because they would play at McClay and avoid going to University Christian, avoid going to Trinity Christian. This seems to be the sweet spot. It's going to be real tough for these to sit in there. I think McClay would like that too. McClay can get NFC. Maybe if they can hold on, McClay, big key if they could hold on to that 2 seed. You think about the second round turn potentially. Yeah. You want to get Trinity Christian out here, not you going over to Trinity Christian out there, which we talked about a couple weeks ago.
And this is Trinity Christian in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That Trinity Christian. That beat Lincoln the other week. So hey, that is not a good.
He had some, from what I was told, they had some guys out in the first part of the season, and then got some guys back, and that was what kind of gave them the edge against Lincoln. Um, and McClay, I think this is again, you've done the work. I think it's just about, you got a tough matchup going at Walton. On the road, you definitely want to, in my opinion, I think the key here in week number 11 is just keep everybody healthy. You want to keep your spot secured. You don't, even with the loss, I do think that they're still a full 2 points ahead of Trinity Christian. This would kind of give them the driver's seat, because that could potentially, if you get out of the first round, in the second and third rounds, you get the opportunity to host. I know for them, looking at the schedule and just really looking how things kind of shape up for the Marauders, this is one where when you look at who University plays, they play Key West. So doesn't really help them, doesn't really hurt them. But that's a big road trip for University to be playing Key West in week number 11. But again, it's one of those where they're just 1 point behind. If you get a chance to get out to a big lead against Walton, you definitely want to kind of pour the points on, because that might age you. You never know. But for right now, NFC, Providence plays Bishop Kenny, so that could kind of buy you some space. And that'll be a tough matchup for Providence, as they're sitting in at the number 8 spot. But for North Florida Christian, it's just really more so about, hey, you win, you just lock up your spot. And so that's region there's region 1 and 1A. And again, yeah, the term a clean region. The matchups are clear. You look at how for NFC you would draw you would draw more so a McClay potentially, but again, that's right here in the city. And then looking at how things fared, of course, earlier was a dominating win by McClay. NFC kind of made it a little bit respectable towards the end, but that's kind of what you want. You hate to get on a bus like that in the first round. You definitely want to try and get something in your own backyard. So, of course, that works out for us because we'll be on hand for that regardless. 4 Quarters Online, always in the building for the Marauders, but it gets kind of, if things end up shifting, it could potentially looking at the second round, it could be something interesting that shakes out of that. But that is 1A Region 1. Moving on, jumping into 3A, it goes Reigns, the Vikings, sitting in your top spot. The number 2 ranked team in the state, and 3A, they're sitting at the top of Region 1, 3A, followed by Bay. And this is where it gets, you look at the point differential. There's 7.5, almost 8-point difference between Bay and Reigns. And so Reigns, our only interaction with Reigns, they handled Madison County pretty squarely in the regular season, 27-14. But we saw Bay and Madison hook up, and that one was really close. So you never know. But right now, if in 3A, if it ended today, you would have Reigns sitting in the top spot, Bay at number 2, Bishop Kenny sitting in the number 3 spot, then Yulee at number 4. Wakulla is squarely in number 5 and pretty comfortable at that. West Florida at number 6, Godby at number 7, Baker County at number 8. And this is where it gets weird, because Wakulla is your district champion, but Godby goes across state lines to take on Dothan, Alabama. And that one really will count in the point differential, because there's only a 100th of a point separation between Godby and Baker County. So if the Cougars come back with a loss, they could end up being in the 8th spot, and then you would draw Reigns instead of getting Bay. Both teams are a tough draw, but I would definitely try to keep my number 7 spot if I were Godby. That matchup against Dothan on the road really could count for something. And really, Dothan, I think, is at a 4-5 record or something like that right now. And for Godby, I think this is a must win. But for Wakulla, man, you're sitting in the best spot possible. You get you would get a very favorable draw as the district champion. You would be, I think, Wakulla is still in contention to host. I'm not mistaken. How does it go again if you're in the uh, top 8 as a district champion? You get to host.
Well, they're in kind of that weird position that Bozeman is. So they are in the top 8, but with them currently sitting at the 5 seed, Yulee is in the 4. But Yulee is a runner-up because Yulee's in Rain's district. So Wakulla would actually host that 4-5 matchup since it's a district champ going against a non-district champ. So if things hold, which it looks like they kind of will, because they got 3.5+ points on West Florida, so it's really tough for West Florida to jump them. And then you look above Wakulla, Yulee has got about just under 3 points on them. So I think Wakulla's sitting right there. You like it. You're sitting in the 5. You get a first-round host, get some momentum. And I think if they could hang out here, kind of like what we talked about with McLean NFC, I think this is kind of the most fortuitous situation for them. But yeah, currently, if this stood, home game for Wakulla, round 1.
That'd be nice. I might even join the crew on that one, Wave 94, that does the games for Wakulla. That would be exciting. A playoff game at J.D. Jones Stadium is always exciting.
Now, Yulee will take on Mendez to close out the season. And if I'm not mistaken, you would have – it really just comes down to, the weird spot is the Godby Baker County scenario. You kind of want to be able to be in a position where you know where you are, but they're so close, guys. Godby is really 100th of a point behind West Florida, and then they're 100th of a point ahead of Baker County. So there could be a huge shakeup there. And I think for Baker County, I think they play Bradford, which will be that's taking on the Tornadoes. That will be, I think they play. Let me make sure I check the schedule. I think they play Fort White actually to close out the regular season. So Baker County takes on Fort White. Fort White sitting at 5-4 on the year. So Baker County, this is one of those where you kind of gonna kind of be watching these other games a little bit because this could determine some things. And I think that game is on the road for the Wildcats. So when you take a look at West Florida, it's a little bit of a different kind of scenario. They close out the season against Pensacola. Is it Pensacola or is it Pine Forest? Let me make sure.
Yeah, it's Pine Forest.
Yeah, Pine Forest. And the Eagles are sitting at 3-5. It's really one of those where I think Godby probably has a tougher draw, but the way the Cougars played last week, it's really more so of an issue of, if you show up again, you basically lock up your spot. If any one of those teams should fall, you can kind of secure where you are. But there's a scenario where if West Florida falls, then Godby would move up, and then they would draw like a Yulee, I think, to close out the season. So not to close out the season, but they would draw a Yulee to open up the playoffs. So it's really more so about positioning right now, if anything. But again, your top 8 goes Rains, Bay, Bishop Kenny, Yulee, Wakulla, West Florida, Godby, and then Baker County. And those last 3 guys are less than 100th of a point separation. So going to be some interesting things happening in week number 11. We'll keep our eyes glued to those games just to kind of see where things kind of shake up. Let's go ahead and jump up to 4A. No question here. Choctaw, the number 1 ranked team in Class 4A, followed by the number 2 ranked team in Class 4A, St. Augustine. Choctaw and St. Augustine are 1 and 2 in the region, followed by Columbia. The Tigers have done a great job as well this season. No slouch, but they are the number 9 ranked team in Class 4A, followed by Ed White, the Commanders, then Pine Forest. And there are your Rickards Raiders sitting at number 6, followed by Booker T. Washington out of Pensacola, and then Escambia, the Gators, at number 8. After that, you have Arnold. The Marlins are very thin sliver of hope remaining, as they are a point behind Escambia for that final 8th spot. There could be plenty of shakeup going on in week number 11, but right now, for Rickards, they would get a very favorable draw. I think they would draw Ed White in the first round. And this is kind of, man, you couldn't ask for a better scenario if you're the Raiders.
Yeah, and Ed White, that's just outside of on the outskirts of Jacksonville, if I'm not mistaken, right there on the highway. That would be quite an exciting playoff matchup.
Yeah, I think currently they're at the 6, which would take them to Columbia. But if they do get up to that 5 slot, then they would be able. If they could jump Pine Forest, they could get to that and play Ed White.
Okay.
But it's still within shouting distance. That's really the only thing that's up for debate. Maybe Arnold beats Escambia, but as you look at it, I think probably the closest, most likely thing is that Rickards Pine Forest battle for that 5-6. Everything else is feel pretty locked down about it. Maybe Choctaw St. Augustine flip 1-2, but
now again, Pine Forest plays West Florida, so that matchup having implications in Class 3A and Class 4A for the Region 1 playoffs. So that'll be an interesting game to keep our eyes on. As we get closer, also Escambia plays Tate. Tate sitting at 6-3. If Escambia falls, there's a like I said, there's a sliver of hope for Arnold as the Marlins close out the regular season. But man, it'll be a battle because they take on Rutherford. So for Arnold, nothing's really over. I think it's just more so if you get a big win over Rutherford and Escambia falls, there's a chance where things could kind of shift because you're close enough in the point differential where it is you're only 1 point behind. So from Arnold, there's definitely a shot there to be able to get into the playoffs. So we'll keep our eyes on that one as well. Keeping it moving, of course, the critical 5A Mainland is your top team, followed by Point Vedra, then Mosley, the Dolphins, sitting comfortably at number 3 at an 8-1 record, followed by Beachside, brand new Beachside out of St. John's. They're over there tucked away between Point Vedra and Nice in that St. Johns County, Florida area. Followed by Milton, Niceville, and Middleburg, then Fleming Island. And then you see at the number 9 spot there are the Lincoln Trojans. Now, let me put everybody at ease. Lincoln's in because they are the district champion. But you really want to be able to get a better draw in the first round. And I think for Lincoln, I don't know, would they draw Milton or Niceville somewhere in there?
Oof.
Mainland, if they get in.
Yeah.
The number 1 overall seed.
Correct.
And that would mean number 1 overall seed, you would go on the road.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a weird scenario. You're in because of the district championship, but for Lincoln, this is where you'd love to have a little bit of help because right now you are sitting and it's so, again, super close. You're right there behind Fleming Island. You're nipping on their heels. They're at 6.7 point differential, and Lincoln is at 6.5. So you're 200ths of a point behind. But again, this matchup with Lincoln and Rickards is going to be huge because it definitely has implications on where you fall in the playoffs. You do not want to go to – I don't want to go to Mainland to open up against the number 6 team in Class 5A. But as of a week ago, there was a sliver of hope for Childs. But it just might be too much for the Timberwolves to overcome that as they are sitting at number 11.
Yeah, because they would have to jump Lincoln as well, like you talked about it. So theoretically, they might have to get all the way up to the 7 spot with that flex up, if that makes sense. Or what would you would think would be the 7 spot, because Lincoln is currently in that bid steal situation. So yeah, it's going to be really tough. It's Hail Mary time. They need a 3-point.
Yeah.
Maybe 4-point jump.
You would need a Fleming Island loss.
You're gonna need some help. You're gonna need lots of help. by the sound of it, for Childs. Lots of help from around the rest of your region in Class 5A if you want to jump up and get just like at least that last. It's like the NFL. Basically, a lot of teams fighting for that sixth and final wild card seed.
And
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure. I think Matanzas plays Middleburg. I'm not. Let me check. Uh,
it sounds familiar. I feel like that was something we talked about last week. North Marion plays Middleburg.
yeah, North Marion plays Middleburg. Okay. Um, but yeah, for Fleming Island closes out the regular season against uh, Palm Coast. And again, if you're Lincoln, this is a game you want to pay attention to because Palm Coast is sitting at 3-6, and Fleming Island is sitting at 5-3. This is a critical game. If Fleming Island, if Palm Coast somehow pulls the upset here, that's only going to be go towards your playoff positioning. So again, Lincoln is in. They're just trying to avoid taking that huge first round matchup against Mainland, who is sitting at 6-2. But Mainland has played a who's who kind of schedule there. If you should happen to move up, you get you basically get Point of Adria, another tough draw. But for Mosley, for the Dolphins, they're in really good positioning right now. They're a point behind Point of Adria, and they would draw, I believe, Middleburg in the playoffs. So, and for the Dolphins, they also, as a district champion, they will be able to host at home as well. So, for Mosley, this is one of those where you're really in the best possible spot you could be. They're sitting comfortably there, and they also have a big win over Milton and Niceville. So you get familiarity going throughout really the first two rounds of the playoffs if you can stay secured in your spot.
Yeah, potentially keep it in the district.
Yeah.
Keep on rolling to the finals, potentially.
Anything is possible.
Eddie, we were trying to leave. I was trying to leave a little bit of time. We're coming up on 90 minutes here, and we still got some preview games to run through. But real quick, just kind of run through the SSA format because we still got some extra playoff football. Again, your team, there's a good chance your team is going to be playing postseason football because what the FHSA has done is they have opened up the invitational tournament, which is not their regular state tournament. So for Miss Sean Jones, if you still watching, I appreciate you so much. There is a chance that the Tigers could play postseason ball in the invitational tournament. So there's a chance. So I know you've been asking. I know you're a true fan. We feel you on that one. There is a chance that they could get into the invitational. Eddie, kind of run us through that real quick. Take a minute or two and talk about the SSAA and the invitational tournaments.
All right, so I'll keep it as briefly as possible. The Sunshine State Athletic Association, which is the SSAA, is the largest independent association in Florida. It also consists of schools in there that are not necessarily part of FHSAA, or once upon a time they were in that league but left due to, doing better for their programs. So we do have a couple teams in the Big Bend region who are a part of the SSAA. Rocky Bayou Christian is part of the 11-man league. Acilla Christian is also part of the 11-man league. And so is Franklin County, except Franklin County is part of the Atlantic Division, which is like the rural division for the SSAA. They're actually beginning their state playoffs tomorrow against the Paxton School. Now, of course, SSAA also does like strength of schedule and everything. So although having a 6-3 record and Paxton being 6-4, unfortunately, Paxton has a better strength of schedule, so they're going to host Franklin County tomorrow. And Acilla Christian, it's the same thing with them. They have a better strength of schedule, and they're going to host Central Florida Christian Academy. So those two are beginning their state playoffs tomorrow. So they're in their own independent association playoff. Now, the Florida Invitational a season ago introduced the FIT, which was awarded to 12 rural division schools that, didn't necessarily qualify because of strength of schedule and overall record. Some of them had a strength of schedule, but not the best record. Some had a good record, but not the best strength of schedule. And last season, we saw Fort Meade, a team that finished under 500, make it all the way to the state championship game and beat Dixie County. This year, they're doing it again for the rural division, but they're also including 2 more Florida Invitational tournaments, classes 1A through 3A and classes 4A through 7A. So to all the other schools out there that are on the bubble, like on the outside looking in, if you do not make it to the mainstream of your state playoffs, as I would like to say it, there is a chance you can make it to the FIT. And of course, those 3 tournaments will consist of different classification schools. So you're going to have, I believe, 1A schools take on 2A and 2A 3A. And of course, classes 4A take on some 5As, 6As, and 7As. Now, they're going to also do seeding, I think, as well, see strength of schedule, points and stuff, and determine which school will host a tournament playoff game and which team will be on the road. So as Mark was saying earlier, yes, there is a possibility, for example, Jefferson County could be in a postseason game. Holmes County, that is on the edge of making the playoffs in case they don't make the rural mainstream playoffs, they could still make it to the rural FIT. And the list goes on for several other schools in the Big Bend region. Even FAMU DRS, as we mentioned earlier, has a chance.
Eligible. Yep. Eddie, man, I appreciate that. We're going to take maybe there's a moment we can take as they get started. I believe, and Coach Cooper was definitely super excited about the SSAA playoffs. Maybe we can take a moment and kind of run through that towards the weekend, maybe a little weekend edition or something like that, because y'all is a lot of playoff football. I'm talking about for real. Like we're talking 30 plus teams playing postseason ball. So just hang on. Don't get twisted about your team. Yeah, Shannon, we know Bluntstown's in. They're undefeated, but yeah, your team, yes, your team has a great chance at playing postseason football, either in the standard FHSAA playoffs, the SSAA playoffs, or the Florida Invitational tournament. It's somewhere they're gonna fall. It's like Plinko. They're gonna be around somewhere. Now that we got that straight, let's go ahead and sort through this mess, which is the rural classification. I've been waiting on this. So let's go ahead and run this down real quick so we can get to our preview games. For everybody who's still locked in with us, thank you. We know you're not a casual fan. You really love this stuff, so we're just trying to make sure you get all the information and know what's going on around the way. At number 1, Bluntstown. The Tigers at a perfect 9-0 are your Region 1 front runners and have basically home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The regular season is locked up. Coach Wagner elected to have the bye at the end of the regular season, and then also going into the dead period. They basically have a 2-week break to kind of rest up before the first round of the playoffs. So your Tigers are sitting a full 3 points ahead of Hawthorne, who is your number 2 team in the region, followed by Chiefland. Chiefland is a very dangerous team. Had a chance to see them earlier this season against the number 4 seeded team right now, Taylor County. Your Bulldogs sitting at number 4, a full point behind Chiefland, their only loss of the regular season. After Taylor County, we have Pahokee, a stalwart in the rural classification. The Blue Devils sitting at number 5, followed by Lafayette. Out of Mayo, the Hornets out of Lafayette are sitting at number 6. Then you have Williston, followed by Baker, the Gators, who are a perfect 10-0. After Baker, then you have Madison County at the number 9 spot. So Madison, in that kind of peculiar spot, but still has the ability to make some noise. After Madison, you have Chipley, followed by Fort Meade. After Fort Meade, Coach Tranquil and his bunch, the Liberty County Bulldogs, sitting at number 12, followed by Trenton, the Tigers, former three-peat winner 10 years ago. Trenton went on a great run. After Trenton, we have the Sneads Pirates sitting at number 14, followed by Branford, excuse me. Then we have Fort White the Indians at the crucial number 16 spot. After that, we have Jay, the Royals, and then I don't know how, but we have Holmes County, then Port St. Joe, and Cottondale, 18, 19, and 20. And it seems so unfair because it is the top 16 teams that get in. So, guys, I'm gonna let you all have at it. I know people are scratching their heads like, how in the world? But for Holmes County, it's a bit of a sour note there because I really feel like the Blue Devils have the resume. Again, if you take away what really, I think has been like a stellar run, their loss against Bluntstown, they go on the road to take on Op out of Alabama to close out the regular season. But man, those first three games in the regular season, 12-8 loss, 9-8 loss, 19-18 loss. And that really seems to have them in a very, very peculiar situation here on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I think weren't they sitting in the 20 spot last week? Or am I misremembering that?
Yeah,
I
they were
believe
sitting in
that they
the
were.
I believe.
Yeah, so they bumped up to like we thought they would with the Bluntstown, just the matchup played. And they're within the striking distance here. Fort White. Fort White's got to play Baker. Baker
Yep.
gave McCullough a really good game last week. So this is still kind of in the mix. But yeah, I think to your point, Mark, that you said it the first time, 16 teams. So this is the most concentrated bracket of talent across the state. And so you don't have any weak spots. So everybody's the real deal. Everything is straight up here. There's no district champs. There's no whatever. It's just like an NCAA bracket. You got the 1 in the 16, the 2 in the 15, all the way down, right? The brutal one right now is Pahokee, sitting in the 5. If you look at the matchups today, Liberty County would have to go all the way down to Pahokee.
Whoa.
So once again, just like Chipley did last year, that's the one. It's like, gets you a little bit brutal. But I think we're still in the conversation of 16. Maybe close the door a little bit more than last week, but 16 to 20, I think still in the mix there. But like we talked about last week with Holmes sitting in the 20, Holmes probably is the favorite to jump up if anybody's going to bump down Fort White. It seems.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you definitely do not want to go down to the Muck City territory to play Pahokee. Nah, that is a whole nother world of high school football down there. And again, as we mentioned earlier about the playoff scenario to other fans, remember, this is 16 teams, so that means the other 12, other teams left just outside in the rural division will potentially be qualifying for the Florida Invitational for the rural division. So schools like Holmes County and others, you
I
still have a
could see the
chance.
Blue Devils actually. I could see the Blue Devils actually wrecking shop in the Invitational, and I know that feels like a consolation prize, but man, if you somehow actually pull the Invitational championship, which I do think that if they were into the Invitational and they don't make the regular playoffs, they would be, in my opinion, head and shoulders above every other team. And that, hey, you sometimes you take what you can get. But man, this is one of those where it's just like, yeah, 16 teams doesn't feel fair because we definitely have made it our business to kind of watch most of these. But yeah, Jupe, I gotta agree with you. That is such a hard draw to be able to get on the bus and go down to the Muck, which is one of the, again, you talk about tough places to play. Muck Bowl is coming up this weekend. Conventional rivalry between Belle Glade and Pahokee, but it's
Glade Central.
Glade Central, excuse me, Glade Central and Pahokee. It's just one of those where like you hate it. Fort Meade is actually that's a bit of a drive too, having to go down and take on the Miners, who I believe won it all in the Invitational last year.
They did. The very first one.
Yeah, it's been such a like up and down kind of season. It's just watching some of the rural teams. It just, you hate to see where we're getting into the final week of the regular season. It's just kind of like, man, I do kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for the Holmes County Blue Devils. I felt like, man, to be that close and to still not have the points. But this is the world we're living in right now. The algorithm has decided that this is where the Blue Devils fall. But man, great matchups all in between. You will see some movement here because yeah, thank you. Ashley Madison is playing in LeCanto tomorrow night, and that will have some implications on whether or not Madison could gain some ground with a big win. Cowboys just, man, took their lumps this season, but you also see where there's a huge matchup between Lafayette and Chipley, and that will cause some movement as well. So Taylor County also playing Leon. That will cause some shifting to happen. So yeah, your seat might not actually be safe here. This is one of those where, you know, if you're rooting for your team, man, check in on some of these other games because this will have a great impact on where you guys fall in the first round. And you want to be able to kind of secure not only a home game, but you also want to make sure you draw a favorable opponent as well. So I would encourage you all, if you're going to be watching, yeah, definitely, you know, keep up with your team. But man, peek in on some of these other games because they impact that top 16. They're going to impact where and who you play in the first round. So the rule, man, we could spend another 10 minutes on the rule.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and run through the week. Number 11 slate. It's here. We've got great games all around. Let's not waste any time. Lafayette taking on Chipley. We just got finished talking about this one. This is going to have huge implications on some movement in the rural classification. The Hornets sitting at 8-1, and so is Chipley. So both of these teams with identical records, and they look fairly identical in the regular season. Lafayette, I think their only loss earlier was to, if I'm not mistaken, I think they fell to Chiefland as well. Let me check and see.
Correct.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Coach Cofield.
So whoever wins this game is gonna kind of, you know, not only lock in their spot, but this we'll see some movement based on this game, but this one's gonna be huge.
Yeah, big time stuff. It's gonna be wild. Chipley letting up less than 10 points a game. Lafayette scoring about 40 points a game. So
Yeah.
Offense versus defense.
That could be a Big 12 conference type game that we see. Ooh, this matchup is really going to be good right here.
Another set of 8-1s here. Columbia, Bowls. We're not talking about classifications here, but man, it is going to be in. We didn't really talk about 6A, but Columbia is, if I'm not mistaken, I think they are and let me see if I can find it in 6A.
They're 4A. They're with Rick.
4A. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, we did talk about Columbia. They're sitting behind Choctaw and St. Augustine. So for Columbia, this is a big test. You definitely want to make sure you guys stay healthy. But going against Bowles, this is only going to bolster your positioning. You're still 4 points behind St. Augustine, which is their lone loss on the year. But man, a tough Week 11 matchup for the Tigers. But they do get Bowles at home, so that's going to be favorable to them.
Yep, you gotta like it.
Yep, keeping it rolling, man. We talked about this one for the Battle of the 4-4s, NFC and Freeport. This one has implications too. Both teams, we talked about NFC trying to make sure you keep a foothold on your spot. NFC sitting at number 7 in Freeport. Man, there's so much to be gained here from this game, but both teams kind of identical right now, 4-4 records, but NFC is the home team. Freeport making the trip down I-10 to take on the Eagles.
Yeah, you're rooting for both of these teams, obviously within our coverage range, that they both get in, but it's looking like maybe just the winner, the way things are shaking down. But there is an opportunity for them both to get in.
2 different classifications, a 1A, a 2A. It's a must win for either one.
I'm glad I ain't coach.
Keeping it rolling, man. Another monster game. Mosley, man. For Mosley, they got some revenge on their minds. They got upended. Perfect 10-0 season was on the line. They make the trip to Tallahassee, and it just falls apart. against the Seminoles going into the Shack. This time, Florida High hitting the road. Mosley thinking about a little bit of payback there to try and finish out the year on 9-1 for Florida High. Everything to gain, because if you can snatch one from the Dolphins, that will have huge points being added to you going into the playoffs. Seminoles still sitting in a fairly decent spot, but man, Florida High has had an absolute banger of a schedule this year. We saw them; they opened up the regular season against Godby, but ever since then, it's been Thomas County Central, Hawthorne State, who's state defending state champion. Big wins against South Walton, had a dogfight against Childs that came down to a field goal. Tough loss against Gadsden County, who retained a lot of talent. Man, absolute monster game against Madison County, taking on Bishop Moore, who is currently undefeated. Now you take on Mosley. I just want the Seminoles to stay healthy.
True. Yeah, this will be a fun, like you said, Mark, revenge game here for Mosley. I'm excited to see these two offenses go at it.
Yeah, Mosley really clicking right now. They're a different animal at home, in my opinion. Florida High definitely battle tested. I don't look for the Seminoles to be too shaken on this one, but yeah, if the Florida High secondary can hold up against the big tight end, Adam Land, they've got two D1 tight ends, quarterback playing great. Florida High secondary really going to be challenged a lot in this one.
If I must interject, this is the kind of game, if I was coaching, this is not a fun thing to do. Mosley is upset from last year because if people remember, Mosley lost the first, they were 9-0. Played Florida High, lost in the last seconds. Then the next week they lost in the first round of the playoffs. So it kind of took them for a loop. They were on a roll, and I guarantee you, if I'm Mosley coach, I ain't got no problem getting our team ready for this one. Florida High looked like the beaten up, wounded, beat down, struggling. Went through a season, got a lot of injuries. I don't know if most of the guys will be back that were hurt. The quarterback was hurt. They had injuries. I know one of the linemen is out for a year. Florida High they took a beating, a lot of injuries, tough season. If they win this game, man, you have to give Coach Hickman, give him a lot of props because they walking in wounded to this game.
In a way, ladies and gentlemen, in other words, this one is personal for the Dolphins.
Anytime you get beat, it's always
talking with Coach Whitten earlier about a week ago. He mentioned just about the maturity of the guys and just growing up from, that is, when you ride high like that, through the regular season and then just have that huge letdown. I think those guys went into the weight room with in the off season with a mission, and just talked about just the maturity of just like, hey, you can't take anything for granted. And Mosley, I think they've been very resilient when you look at them being able to beat Niceville 2 years in a row, once at your place and once at theirs. It just kind of shows that this is a team that's just a little bit more mature. You had the big win against Milton, who was also undefeated earlier in the season, and Mosley really right now has just kind of been clicking in a similar way to last season, but a little bit different, maybe with some more experience under the belt. This is going to be a good game, definitely with some not as big of playoff implications on the line, but everything to gain for Florida High should they be able to steal another one. But Mosley is going to do everything to kind of shut the door with them getting Florida High in their building. But Mosley sitting at 8-1, another chance to go 9-1, 2 consecutive years in a row. Seminoles trying to survive and make it to the second season. Keeping it rolling, Gadsden County with everything to play for to close out the regular season against Wakulla. The War Eagles, man, this one here is going to be another monster test. This one not in the confines of J.D. Jones Stadium, but on the road. And, man, Gadsden County looks scary because they've got some talent back for the second half of the season. And really for the Jags, this is kind of a beautiful scenario for them because they got nothing to lose and everything to play for.
Man, this is a dangerous game for Wakulla. you kind of got your district wrapped up. You're playing your last game. Gaston County, all they want to do is knock you off, and that's the only thing they got to look forward to. They can't go to the playoffs. This is their playoff game, and it would be great for their program to knock off Wakulla. They can't come in there. They got to bring their A game. They got to Wakulla got to come in there with the attitude not to lose. Don't take Gaston County for granted, because Gaston is 2-5, but they are dangerous 2-5. They lost a lot of close games, so don't go there. And I'm sure Coach Cleese is gonna come out. He gonna get his kids ready. This should be a pretty good game.
I mentioned this earlier about how all season long Wakulla has been in battles, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all season from the beginning to now, headed towards the end of the regular season. And this game is going to definitely be, once again, another game that could be decided in the battle of the trenches. I mean, Wakulla coming off back-to-back games where it was decided in double overtime. Gadsden County making this their everything, their playoff, district championship, you name it. And of course, Coach Cofield, I mean, there's history to this matchup. You know, Wakulla heading over to Quincy to play Gaston County is also like going back in time and reliving days when it used to be the War Eagles taking on the Tigers of Shanks High School on the historic Corey Field, which I feel like this is where that game should be played just for respect, you know, historical reasons. But I'm excited for this one, and I'm going to be looking forward to tuning in on Friday night.
Yeah, this one, man, you look at Gaston, unfortunate scenario to start. They just start the regular season. They had so much momentum coming in from the offseason, and just a really unfortunate chain of events kind of put them into a hole where they had to cancel a couple of games. But looking at how they played, you know, there was a really, you know, going back to the Lincoln game, really, which they were leading at half. Lincoln comes back and win, but that was kind of the spark that kind of put them on the uptick. They upset Florida High 20-19. They absolutely dragged. I think it was the Academy Young Kids in Motion or something like that. Going into the bye, yeah, this is a dangerous game for Gas, and this is their playoff. For Wakulla, this is one, yeah, you want to make sure everybody just kind of stays healthy in this one, but definitely a tall order to be able to go in. So if you throw the records out, this is just going to be good old-fashioned physical football to close out the regular season. Wakulla sitting at 6-3 with a playoff spot locked up and the district championship in tow. Gaston County just looking to be able to steal another one. This one's going to be in Havana, Quincy. And a great atmosphere at that. One of my favorite places to watch a game as well. Now, this one is interesting because Taylor County when I saw it on the schedule, I was just like, ooh, okay. But this one, Taylor County hitting the road coming into Tallahassee to take on the Leon Lions at 3-6. Bulldogs sitting at 8-1. And man, this is just kind of one of those where they could potentially gain some ground here with a big win over a higher class school here. But Leon, just with everything, you know, we predicted the Lions to be able to kind of navigate a very tough schedule because, you know, with them having a new coach and coming in with some returning talent, didn't really know what the Lions were going to be, but we saw some sparks there, and this will be another opportunity to kind of go out with a bang here and close out the regular season on a high note. So I definitely expect a little bit more of a fight from the Lions. But man, Taylor County has been clicking ever since the Chiefland loss. They've been on an absolute tear and on a mission at that. This is going to be a good one going on in the capital city against two teams. I kind of feel like it's going to be more so, can Leon find a way to contain Taylor County and man, arguably one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the area. You know, their Lions defense is just going to have their hands full, even though it's a home game for them.
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. Lions got everything to prove, and Taylor County just want to maintain and get ready for the playoffs. Like you say, don't want no major injuries. You, on paper, they should win the game, but paper don't play. And so look at the Lions coming in. They would love to knock Taylor County out. That would make their whole season. They know they're not going to the playoffs. So this is Leon's playoff game. Be careful, Bulldogs, going in there.
On top of that, too, when you think about it, Leon's only win from last season was at Bobby Benson Field. And 2 of their wins this season in their 3 have been on Bobby Benson Field. So they have been 3-0 straight playing home on campus. And personally, like I said, there's no better feeling than having a game on your own campus. And Coach Bell and his team, yes, they've had a few sparks this season. They've, in a few games, they were in it early with some top-notch teams who are, respectfully doing good in their divisions. So this will be another great opportunity for Coach Bell and his team to finish the season strong and build something going into the offseason for next year and what this Lion team could be potentially in the future, and I'm excited. Taylor County's a good team. They've shown us all season long of how, real good they've been doing. So again, this is going to be a really good game at Bobby Benson Field. So yeah, looking forward to it. I may even stop by and see. Who knows?
That's right. You're in Florida.
Yes, I'm back.
Eddie's home.
I'm home.
Ed is home.
Yes, next season, Jupe. I'm with you next season, Jupe. 2026. Let's go.
Hey, I'm just question. I sent you something, Mark. Did you get it?
Yeah. Let me find it. Hold on. We got people that's been rocking with us for a minute, so let me get through the rest of these. Because we got a big one here. Rickers 3-6, taking on Lincoln at 5-4, and for the Raiders, man, your spot is secure. You're sitting in a very comfortable, got some points cushion above and below, but for Lincoln, man, you gotta have it. You're at the number 9 spot, but because the district championship you're in, it just looks weird because you got to go on the road in the first round. If things held up today, this is one of those, man, for Lincoln. You got to have it, and you might need some help too if you want to be able to host. There's just some things here that could really shift things around if you get a big win over the Raiders. But man, Rickers riding in with a little momentum. And Lincoln, man, stunned from that Godby loss from last week. You got to kind of wonder which team is going to show up here for this particular matchup for Rickards. Obviously, you want to be able to kind of throw records out. It's a rivalry game. But for Lincoln, it's a rivalry game plus some, because you're definitely going to be looking and kind of keying in on some things that are happening around you. Again, we talked about Lincoln sitting in that number 9 spot, but when you take a look at how things, the teams that are ahead of them, Fleming Island taking on Palm Coast, and then above them you got Middleburg also, and I think Middleburg they play North Marion. So yeah, you kind of need some help here, and it's just for Lincoln, it's just a really odd scenario for them to be in with them sitting at 5-4 record.
Man, when I was in school, there wasn't no Lincoln. That's how long ago I was in school. It started the year after I graduated, but I never got a chance to play against Lincoln. The first time Rickers and Lincoln played, I was at the game watching, and it was a blowout for Rickers. Since then, Rickers have been winning on and off, but they went on a streak of a lot of losses to Lincoln Trojans, which started at Powerhouse in the 90s and on and on. But this is an exciting game for locally. Rickers gonna bring their A game. Lincoln maybe licking their wounds a little bit from last week, losing to Godby. Could be an exciting game, or it could be just a plain, let's stay healthy and get to the playoffs. You never know until you play the game.
Yeah, golden opportunity for the Rickards Raiders to finish the season strong. And to add on to that, Coach, there was something a while back where Rickards did get a win against Lincoln. It was sometime like I want to say a year or two after I graduated, where they had that big win in overtime, and it was a shootout in overtime too. So it's been a minute since that win now. I want to say almost 10 years. So yeah, let's see what happens. And it is on Halloween night, so trick or treat.
Yeah, I want to see who can keep that run game going. Huggins got it going on. Price got it going on. Both of the lines seem to be doing solid in that run game. On the flip side, whose front seven's going to step up? But especially when you want to get into the playoffs, can we make sure our offense is flowing? You know, run game travels a little better than the passing game oftentimes. So if you can get that run game going, that's what you want to see. Make sure the defense tightened up. So this is going to be a playoff atmosphere for what's looking like 2 playoff teams for our area.
Yeah, the city will definitely turn out for this one. Huge game. Throw the records out. But yeah, Lincoln will probably be looking left and right a little bit once this one is over. Finally, Walton taking on McClay. McClay heading down I-10 to take on the Braves. Braves sitting at 3-6, but still with a lot of fight left. And yeah, Jennifer, I don't know. We got some friends out there. We're going to see if we can find something. We will not be making the trip with the Marauders as we are the home team representatives for this.
As Jupe.
No, we already asked Jupe. I think Jupe will be here in the capital city. But yeah, we'll definitely see what we can do about some road matchups maybe down the road sometime. But yeah, I understand. I hope you get better, Miss Jennifer, to kind of check in on the Marauders. We'll see if we can hook you up with that one. But for McClay, you definitely want to be able to kind of look at how, man, maybe you could climb back into this top spot. You're only 1 point behind University Christian. Anything could happen. But if you get that top spot, it kind of just puts you back in the driver's seat with some things. So McClay's been playing tough. They had the letdown last week against Deerfield Windsor, but again, this is one of those where, like, yeah, you want to make sure you guys stay healthy. But if you can get out of this one with the dub and maybe pour some points on it, could kind of work out in your favor.
Man, this is an interesting matchup. Coach, a couple 3 years ago, Coach Brown was offense coordinator for Walton, and they played McClay. Interesting game. Walton was once, I think, a 4A or 5A. They're down to 2A now. Interesting to me, when I saw it on the schedule, I was kind of like, man, this ought to be a pretty good game. McClay is so much better than I thought they would be, because when you change coaches as often I think they had 3 different coaches in the last 3 years, but seemed like they didn't miss a beat. And they had a little letdown last week, but I'm expecting them to go down to Walton and represent the Tallahassee area.
All right, guys, let's round out as we come up on the 2-hour mark. Again, some great games going on around the area. Rutherford, Arnold. This game has some implications there, especially for the Marlins, but both teams sitting at 2-7. Who's going to close out the regular season with their 3rd win? Big one going on down there in Bay County as Rutherford hosts Arnold. Charles hosting, Swanee, excuse me on the name. But Charles sitting at 5-4 and really on the outside looking in, an unfortunate scenario for the Timberwolves. But for Swanee, man, it's been a rough season. And for the Timberwolves, they're really trying to close out the regular season with another big win at home as they host the Swanee Bulldogs. Bozeman will be locking horns with Bay. Bay trying to lock up that county championship. Tornado sitting at 8-1. They'll be hosting Bozeman, who's sitting at 6-3. Cottondale in the battle for Jackson County. This used to be such a huge game out that way. With Cottondale hosting Graceville. Man, and just, you hate to see how the county population has just dropped off. But man, Cottondale 6-3 hosting Graceville. Marianna hosting South Walton. The Seahawks sitting at 6-3, trying to bump themselves up a little bit with a big win against Marianna. We'll see if that can happen. Sneeze taking on North Bay Haven, and don't look now, but the Pirates are sitting comfortably in their playoff spot. North Bay Haven on the outside looking in. So this one, both teams will be fighting. But for Sneeds, hope they enjoyed the posters we got out there to them. Great atmosphere to catch a game with the Pirates sitting at 6-3, hosting North Bay Haven. Columbia hosting Bowles, and there will be some implications on this one. But man, Bowles is a tall order for the Tigers, but at least they get them at home. So another great game. Both teams sitting at 8-1 on the year. Closing out the slate, Godby hitting the road, going into Alabama, taking on Dothan. The Wolves gotta be sitting at 4-4, trying to improve, maybe bolster their spot a little bit with a victory. Madison County closing out the regular season on the road at Lecanto down in Central Florida. Madison County sitting at 4-5, taking on the Panthers at 6-3. Holmes County, and this is where it matters. You get a big win over Opp, who's at 8-1. Man, you maybe some things happen in your favor, but the Blue Devils trying to steal one more win as they hit the road in Alabama and take on Opp. DRS closing out the year against Houston County out of Alabama. DRS looking for that crucial third win on the year that would put the Baby Rattlers, what was it, Jupe? What best in their win total since 2019?
Yeah, best winning record in the regular season since 2019.
All right, fam, you get a chance to handle business against Houston County on Halloween, and I think that's going to be in Bragg, right?
Yeah.
In Bragg. Hamilton County taking on Branford. Trojans will be playing playoff football. I'm not sure if they will be, as they're on the outside looking in, they will definitely be candidates for the invitational tournament as they take on the Buccaneers. Hamilton County, the Trojans sitting at 5-4. Port St. Joe, another invitational tournament invite, sitting at 3-5, also on the outside looking in. Ahead of Holmes County, though, I think in the number 17 spot in the rankings. They will be hosting Destin at home on the beach. And then down in our last spot, Weaver Hitchcock taking on Central. And that will do it for the week number 11. Man, happy trails to the teams that are not playing playoff football, who unfortunately are turning in pads. But, man, we have a great week 11 slate and plenty of playoff football matchups. When everything closes, our next week's show will be all about playoffs. So make sure you catch us next Wednesday night on the Extra Point. Man, we appreciate everybody rocking with us for the 2-hour show. We had to talk about playoff football. It's so important. And we appreciate all the real fans who hung out with us tonight on the Extra Point. We'll catch everybody next Wednesday, and we'll see everybody on Friday night for the overtime, our little overtime scoreboard show as soon as the game wraps up. But for the Extra Point gang, I'm Mark Adams, and for Andrew Jew, Eddie Quincas, and Coach Cofield, we are the Extra Point Podcast. We'll catch everybody next Wednesday. We'll have playoffs broken down just for you, North Florida high school football. Hope everybody gets a chance to catch a game. There's plenty of great ones. We'll see everybody next week.